This is the CAM tutorial for part number 18866-1 Rev A. We're going to set up the stock and we're going to set up the vise for each operation. So our first operation is going to be cutting this held in a vise with parallels and leaving a hat to be removed on the second operation. The second operation is going to require soft jaws, so we'll flip the part over and it'll be facing this way, and it just does really the chamfers and cuts the hat off. So we actually have three programs to do. So we have a soft jaw to machine. Okay, and so we're going to do this in a methodical way. Let's start off with creating the stock body that's the for the raw material blank. And if we look at our traveler, our material is 1 inch by 2 inch bar stock cut to 5.72 long, so that's what we want to make. Okay, so let's go. We're going to start off with sketch. We're going to go ahead and sketch on the top of our part. We're going to draw a rectangle, and we'll dimension it. So it's 2 inches this way and 5.72. All right, centering this. Well, we're going to use a modified version of what I usually do. I'm going to go from corner to corner on our sketch. We're going to right click on that sketch and we're going to turn it into a construction. Then we need to find center of this. So let's go from, I guess, midpoint of top with the chamfer would work to midpoint of the top of the chamfer there. And again, we're going to right click on this, turn it into construction geometry as well. And then we should be able to go midpoint to midpoint. Okay, so we've got it centered in our stock. We don't have a huge amount of room on either end, so we got to be careful when we set this up. And then we should probably measure that our stock is 5.72. Okay, so the next step, we're going to hit finish sketch. Okay, make sure it's all visible. Not sure why mine was not. Anyway, so what we want to do is we want to leave some material on the top, and then the rest of the material will shoot out the other side. Okay, we're going to leave 40 thousandths to be removed on the top. So we're going to do an extrude. You're going to select inside of the box, select inside each of these zones. So we want to extrude all the way through. And we're going to do two-sided, and to the up direction we're going to go 40 thousandths, and then in the opposite direction 0.96. That gives us a full inch. We don't want to do a cut, we're going to do a new body, and we'll select OK. Now let's extend our bodies and let's highlight the one that says stock, and we're going to put stock. We're going to label it stock. And this one we're going to label it the part number 18866-1. Let's highlight the stock, right click on it, and we're going to go to opacity control, and we're going to make it 50% opaque so we can see through it. Alright, so we've got that set up for the first op. Now let's import our vise for the first op. So we're going to take our Sierra College generic vise. We're going to bring that in. I'll rotate it 90 degrees. Let's move that into a location that looks realistic. We're going to select OK. You're going to right click on the vise and we're going to unground it from parent. Now we're going to do a joint. Okay, and we're going to select the top corner of our parallel, and then the bottom left corner of the stock. It brings it together in a preview, and we'll hit OK. Now we go to our vise, and we're going to adjust this spacing to be 2 inches, which will give us a realistic view of operation 1. Okay, operation 2, let's hide the first instance of the vise. Operation 2 is going to be holding this in a soft jaw. So in the context of this, we don't have this material body is only going to be the hat that's going to be removed on the second op. So let's go to bodies and let's hide that stock for now. We're going to flip the part in the orientation, we're going to machine it. So it's going to go like this. And then we're going to import our soft jaws. So we're going to take, and you should have these two that are downloaded in the assignment. They're a standardized format for the jaws we're going to use at the school. So you're going to rotate -1, bring that one in. That is our jaw that goes in the front. We'll just go ahead and hit OK for now. And then we're going to do the same thing with the -2, which is the back jaw. And it is backwards. It needs to rotate 180 degrees. Woo. Okay. And if we look at these, you notice that this one's labeled A, this one's labeled B, and we're going to engrave this information on it. So we're going to need to modify these sketches to match what part we're making. Okay, so first thing we want to do is I want to mate these jaws together. There's some features that are intentional here. We have this face and this face which need to be in alignment, so that when we take these jaws out and put them back in, this surface we have machined when we make the soft jaw will allow us to align our soft jaws left to right. So, and then we're going to align the jaws to our part, and this corner here becomes our origin for the machining of both the soft jaws and the physical part. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to use the joint command, and because we have these notches, we don't want to pick on centers of edges. What we want to do is use this second between two faces. So we're going to select between two faces on both components, and we're going to select the left and right of one of the soft jaws, and then on the other, the right and left of the other soft jaw. And now it's asking for a snap point. We're going to select the snap point of the center front edge, which should be halfway between the two planes we picked, not the edge itself. And then our second snap point will be similar. Okay, now it's going to default to having them touching each other. What we want to do is we want to back these off from each other so that after we cut the soft jaw shape, we can then clamp and have some room for clamping. Otherwise our part will get loose as that relationship eventually wears out. Okay, so we're going to put a 1/2 inch. So when we actually machine the soft jaws, we're going to put a 1/2 inch parallel in, and then we're going to pull that parallel out when we actually machine parts, so we can put pressure on the part. Oh, you want to select the axis and put 0.5. I actually had a degree, and we want -0.5. Okay, so they're going to be spaced 1/2 inch apart for this particular item. Sometimes I just clamp any parallel on end in there, and it gives an 1/8 inch of compression. But this is a bigger part, and we want to have room for our text. All right, so let's go OK. All right, now we need to align this part in relationship to our origin. So when we do that, I'm going to pick up on the center of something and then use an offset to place it, and then we'll use the geometry of the model itself to make the soft jaw. We're going to open and expand our sketches, and we're going to find the sketch we use to make one of our hexes. So we have these different sketches. Now, you may have approached yours differently than I did. It's okay if you don't have this this point. You'll have to find center. You might have to draw a sketch, but find center of this center hex. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a joint between this corner here and the center of our hex. Okay. Now that's obviously not where we want it. Okay. But we want a relationship that we can document, and we can know where the center of this based off that corner is, because we're building to our fixture. Okay. So we're going to go over to the right. We're going to shift an X, negative 2.875. We want to center this object in the center of the two jaws. So our center of our two jaws is shifted in Y, negative 0.25. Okay, because we don't want to capture beyond half the radius on one half of the jaw, or we'll have problems. Okay, this is going to wipe out a little bit of our lettering or get really close to it. That's okay, as long as we know where our Y origin is. Okay. And then now we want to sink it down into the soft jaw. So we're going to go Z offset negative 0.4. And that's going to sink it down 400 thousandths into the soft jaw. Okay. And so this is where our soft jaw is. We are going to take a look at this. So in this view here, we've got, we can read all our documentation. We want it engraved on both halves, so if they get separated from each other, we know which one's which. The serial number, we're going to change that to being your student ID number, and then if you make more than one of these, we're going to stamp a number at the end. That way we have this serial number matched with this serial number, and again, if we have multiples of these jaws, we can find them. All right. Now, let's take this whole assembly and let's put it in another instance of the VISE. So we're going to bring in our Sierra College VISE, and we're going to generic VISE, and we're going to rotate this down to 90 degrees. And move this over. And these jaws are going to replace the steel jaws that are in this. Okay, so we're going to hit OK, and we're going to open up our second instance of the VISE, and we're going to open up the rear and front jaw, and we're going to open up the bodies. We're going to make the hard jaw invisible, the two bolts invisible, and the parallel invisible. Still there, but we're not going to see it. Do the same thing with the front jaw. Okay, so the bolts and parallel. Okay, now we can collapse all this back up, and then we're going to mount these jaws in the VISE. So how we're going to do that is the same way. We're going to take the assembly command. We're going to use between two faces command. Pick the two faces of our rear jaw. and then we're going to select the two faces. Oops, that was not it. The two faces of our rear block. And then it's asking for the snap point. So our snap point on the rear block of the vise is going to be here. Now note there's a chamfer on this, so we're going to have to adjust for that chamfer because our vise jaw does not have that. Okay, don't be disturbed by that. Preview, okay, always does that. And you notice our vise jaw is sitting above the end of the chamfer. That chamfer is a 30 thousandths chamfer. So we're going to pick the axis that we want to shift it, and we're going to put in negative 0.03. All right, I'm wrong. We're going to put in 0.03. Okay. So now they should be flush when you look at the side here. Okay. Now we hit OK. And all we have left is to adjust this back jaw. So if we measure the distance between our soft jaw and the block, we get 4 inches 725. We need to subtract that number from the 5-inch 770/50 to get the number we need. So let's just do that real quick. 5.775 minus 4.725 gives us an inch and 5 thousandths. So let's go back to this screen. This becomes 1.05, 1 inch 50 thousandths. Okay, so we've got this pretty much set up. One thing I do like to do is I'm going to go to displays, and now that we've got all our assemblies done, we're going to go to object, visible objects, and we're going to make joints and joint origin and joint axes invisible. That way we don't confuse that on our documentation when we go and make this. Okay. All right, now we need to look at our soft jaws here. So let's go to the back view, and we're going to have to modify these. What we want to do is modify these in place so that it doesn't affect the original. Edit this, and we want to capture the position. And up here where it says edit in place, we want to go non-associative. That way it doesn't change our template soft jaw. And now that'll allow us to go in and we're going to modify the sketch that has the text on it. And we're going to edit that. So what we're going to do is we're going to modify this text to actually have the information we need on it. So we're going to double click on the part number first, and we're going to replace the X's with the actual part number. So the part number of this part is 18866, and then it's -1. And the revision is A. Make sure everything's capital. And the program we're going to run to make the part, this isn't the program for the soft jaw. The program we're going to run is going to be 8661, so the last 4 digits of the part number, and it's going to be program number 2. Okay. And then our serial number, that's going to be your student ID number, or in my case my employee ID number, but I'm not going to put my real number on a tutorial. Okay, so replace this serial number with your student ID number, okay, however many digits that is. It should fit. Okay, so we've finished all of that. And all of this other text here, we're going to explode it, but we're not going to change it. So we're going to explode text here, explode text here. It should all turn green. Now if you did have to change this, you could change those. Okay, but once we've exploded this stuff, it's really hard to change it because it's all line entities. Okay, so now let's go to the next. Okay, so now once we've exploded all the text, it should all be green. It can be engraved. Your sketch is not going to be fully constrained, but we're not going to dimension each of these things. But make sure your text is correct before you explode it, because you can't just type it to change it. You have to actually redraw it. Okay, so let's insert, we're going to finish this edit in place, and then we're going to edit in place the lower one. So if we go to, let's minimize the sketches in the -1, now we're going to go to the -2, and we're going to open up the sketches. We're going to edit that one and make sure we flip non-associative. Okay, and then we edit the sketch. Not sure why it does that. Now we're going to modify this part number to be the same as what we just did on the top. So 1886-1. Rev A. And the program number should match. We're putting it in both places, so we just make sure that we get the right two jaws if we pull these out of the stockroom. 86612, and then we're going to have our student ID number. 1, 2. Okay, now we need to explode all this text. So we're going to right click on the letter B. We're going to say explode text. Right click on the other letters, hit explode text, and we should get green all around, and hit finish sketch. Now let's minimize all this, and then we're going to finish edit in place. Alright, we should be good to go to program this. That way we don't have to keep coming back and forth between design mode and manufacture. Let's go to sketches. Let's hide that sketch I had to center the part we don't need anymore. Okay,